And we're back here on the show. It's me, Hugh, it's Sanders here, and we've got the real son joining us, and it's been a couple of years at least, eh?
I think it's been about 5 years at least.
5 years, yeah.
Since we came on.
Yeah. So it's great to have you back.
Great to see you again, yeah.
And so we're talking today about, I know you've got your band and you do your spoken word stuff, but today we're really talking about a youth program that you put together. And do you want to just kind of give us an introduction to it?
Yeah, sure. Maybe we could watch the video, because that would be a really good introduction. And
just set this video up for us if you could.
Then
we totally forgot.
Then I don't, and then we won't have to repeat the information that's there.
Oh, here we go.
So what I found when I was doing the spoken word unit was that someone would stand up and I would have no idea what they were going to talk about, and then they would say something. Their entire poem was written on something I had no idea they were going through, and they were considered one of my closest friends.
I think I understand myself more because it's kind of like a self-reflection. So you look back on yourself and you kind of look for who you are.
Because for us to be remembered in 100 years, we need someone to remember us back.
I'm done being afraid. I'm done being scared. I'm done being terrified.
On the Horizon is comprised of two main elements: musical keynotes and workshops. Musical keynotes is a keynote address infused into a live musical performance with myself and my band, performing songs from my latest album, Horizon.
But every year, students are blown away by each other, and I think there's some remarkable things that happen to them collectively.
In the workshops, I use spoken word poetry as a vehicle for engaging the curriculum, but also gives a fresh flair to the curriculum materials that the students are learning, to infuse art creation and exploration of true authentic voice in a way that incorporates emotional integrity.
Okay, son. So, what made you start this project?
Well, this particular formation kind of came together, I think about 6 years ago when I started working at the University of Toronto Schools, which is a private school in downtown Toronto affiliated with U of T. And I had started out, actually, one teacher found me. I was doing a keynote speech at a youth leadership conference called Ruckus. And brought his students down. And I guess they really liked what I had to say to them, and they kind of said, we have to bring her to our school. And so they brought me in for an Asian Heritage Month assembly. And then we kind of kept on working together and trying to explore how can we use spoken word poetry as a way to engage young people in deeper conversations about social justice, in deeper conversations about unpacking aspects of understanding our identity. And so I started working with this teacher, James Campbell, is an amazing ally, to develop this curriculum for grade 10 English. So particularly using spoken word as a way to engage the English curriculum in high schools to give a bit more depth to the poetry unit that they already have going on, and to provide a space for youth to really explore the deeper conversations that they have not a chance to do most times in school, right? So it's an opportunity for them to ask deeper questions about what's my purpose.
You know what, I'm so glad you suggested we watch that first as opposed to talk about it, then watch it, because I have different questions than I would have had I not seen that. One of the things that came clearer to me in watching that, because I didn't actually, you don't get to hear what they're saying. So, the whole element of, social justice or speaking about, certain issues is one element, but the other thing was their public speaking. So they're developing confidence. Yeah. That even just that alone, just to be able to stand up in there and say, hi, my name is so and so, and just to speak a little bit about yourself, is huge. Yeah. In your identity as well. So there's that other added component as well.
Absolutely, and it provides a space for youth to explore public speaking, but there's something really magical that happens when you invite young people to share stories that are meaningful for them.
Yes.
In the sense where one of the most profound things that happens every year is that these youth get up and they bare their souls and they talk about things that they never had a space to talk about
This
before.
is in your program.
Yeah,
right?
and they talk about issues going on with family. They talk about different social issues that they care about. They talk about personal issues that they have kind of been holding to themselves. And in that space, and I take really care to try and establish a space where people feel safe to share.
Yes, it's sacred.
So it is kind of a sacred space that we form, and trust is a huge component of the work that we do. And what actually ends up happening is that there's this sense of community that gets built in the classroom, and the feedback that I get constantly from teachers is that, after I leave, it's the poetry unit, but it's beyond the poetry unit, because now there's a sense of community that's been formed that kind of stays.
Because of the depth of sharing. And so everyone feels a little bit closer and understands everybody else a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now, do you do this once you have formed this kind of community sense of this bond? Do you go back and you do it maybe once a month or once every 2 weeks, or is it once a year thing?
The full iteration of the unit looks like I'll come in to do a musical keynote, which is a performance with myself and my band where I share my own personal stories, share my poetry, share my music, and kind of break the ice, so that the students kind of get a sense that, okay, maybe it is okay to go a little bit deep.
Permission, giving
permission to kind of open that space. And then I'll go in for 8 workshops.
Great.
So I'm in there 8 times, usually 5 instructional sessions and 3 evaluation sessions, because at the end, every single student will share a poem that they've written on the topic that
now,
they
is it once a
about.
week, or how does
it depends on like the scheduling with the schools, but we usually span it between a month to a couple of months, because I'll go in and then I'll give them time to work on their piece, and then I'll come back and lead them through the different steps.
Wow. Now, and you do this in high schools, or?
Yeah. So at UTS specifically, I've done this unit. I did it in the formation that I just explained to you for 5 years in a row. So in essence, the unit has become integrated into their curriculum.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So and we've been able to work with the guidelines of the Ontario educational curriculum benchmarks.
Yes.
And so we've been able to create evaluation tools and rubrics that fit the guidelines of the educational or the Ministry of Education, but also is this alternative space that we can play with to give depth to the oral communication skills, the language skills, poetry skills that they are mandated to already learn from the province.
That's amazing. And go ahead.
Well, why do you think there's such a need for this kind of, it's almost like a extra beyond the normal curriculum? Why is there such a need for that in the first place? Why aren't those needs being addressed already?
I think right now what we have is an evolving generation, right? There's a generation that's in our schools right now that are coming into this world more awakened.
You think that's what's going on?
I do. I really do. And I think I do. And I think also our education systems are very archaic in nature. They're very slow to change. They were created during the formation of the Industrial Revolution, where everything was based on a factory line. There's a lecture by Ken Robinson called, I think, Changing Education Paradigms. It's like a whiteboard lecture on YouTube. And he talks about that, we kind of organize our students in batches, almost like date of expiration or date of manufacture is the most important thing. We group them in what year they were born.
Like a lot number.
And they're put kind of on an assembly line form of education that doesn't account for the individuality of the students. That doesn't account for, the power of creativity and transformation, the power of creativity and helping young people discover who they are. And what ends up happening is that we have these students going through the system of education, learning things that a lot of them will not use. A lot of the information that you learn in school, you don't really use in real life. So it's irrelevant to their lived experiences. It's culturally irrelevant as well. So in terms of bringing in the arts, we're able to bring in an approach to education that is culturally relevant to a lot of our students, that the current education system that isn't structurally built to accommodate for. And also, I think there's a real power of transformative power in the arts that has not been acknowledged in our mainstream education system. You know, the arts funding is, you know, one of the lowest in priority in terms of how schools are funded, in terms of what you know, space of time these classes take up in school. And the things that I've seen happen when we're able to engage young people in these deeper conversations through art is amazing.
It's transforming.
It's transformative.
Well, I think to your point, I think one of the things about it is all the barriers between you know, religion, culture, you know, gender, all these biases are just gone when you look at focus on the art. And music is actually universal, right? So all of those things are gone. Those compartmentalization things are gone. So it's almost to me like a new way of educating, because it's like, let's just look at who we are as opposed to the box that we came in.
Well, I don't think they're gone in the sense.
Okay.
I think art...
Or appreciated, maybe?
Well,
would that be a better
art
word?
Art creates a space for us to actually look at these things in a critical way, in creative ways of deepening dialogue, right? I think...
But not a non-prejudiced way.
Art is accessible, right?
Okay.
Art is accessible for everybody, and I think art is a really good platform to create spaces of unity amongst people. It creates spaces for us to have these deeper dialogues around race and gender and socioeconomic status and class. It provides a space for us to have that conversation creatively. And because I feel like art is in and of itself a unifying nature, allows space for us to have that dialogue in ways that are less divisive than, you know, your typical political conversations about these topics. And it also creates an accessible entry point for young people to engage in this conversation as well. Like, I started out as an artist educator with a group called Lost Lyrics back in like 2006. And our primary entry point to these conversations was through hip hop and identifying, you know, specific songs and specific aspects of the hip-hop culture that we can speak to give context to the lived experiences of the young people of what they were going through. You know, I'm from a community called Jane and Finch, where there's a huge African Caribbean population. We also had a site in Malvern where the demographics are very similar. And when we're dealing with these populations, there's a lot of racism. You know, there's a lot of systemic racism, especially for the Black community. And when you're able to introduce these deeper conversations using an art form that the youth already are gravitating towards, there's a real space that opens up an opportunity to help young people place their experiences within a context that they can understand, relate to, and use as tools moving forward, right?
Now that sounds to me like an education platform, really. That's a great, and that's what a novel concept.
And that's what Voice of Purpose is my company that I've just started, which serves as a platform largely for the purpose of serving as a platform of education, but serving as a platform for the evolving generation to help us find our purpose earlier on. Because what I found is that with the current education system and with the current state of our societies and with the way that they're structured, it's like you go to school, right? You go into the areas of study that you think are that you're supposed to go into.
That will make money.
That will make money, that you know, your parents are pushing you into because they want you to have a specific type of profession, and you go to school, you know, you get the grades, if you're lucky enough and have the means, you go to university, and then you graduate and you go into this profession. And oftentimes what happens is, in that entire journey, we're never given the space to ask ourselves, why are we here? What is your purpose? What is your calling?
What do you really want?
What do you really want? And what are you here to do? And so then you spend your whole entire life going through this motion, and then you wake up and you're 40, 50 years old at a job you hate, living a life that's just kind of a routine regurgitation of the day before, and you've lost passion for life. And then at that point, some people have now started to ask deeper questions about what's my purpose and why am I here? And I don't want young people to have to wait that long. I want them to have that conversation with themselves now, when you're 15 and you're about to go into making these bigger life decisions, you know?
Yeah. Boy, I wish I would have had that opportunity.
No, see, I did that, and then now look at me. Now
you're doing amazing.
I just wish I had a steady job, you know, bringing in the cash every week. Know what I'm saying?
Well, it's the balance, right? It's the balance, and I think that's so key. I think that's true success for me. Is like being able to live your passion, and your purpose,
I know,
and being able to survive, and not just survive, but thriving.
But that's the hard part.
That's
I mean,
the
to
balance.
me, that's the.
See, you call it hard. She calls it balance. Look at the perception. She's going to get it a lot quicker than you are, because just look at the way you worded that.
No.
I think you need to take her spoken word. Do you do this for adults too?
I do. I can't. I actually do workshops for adults, but they're more healing.
I only write poetry for money.
What's that?
I only write poetry for money.
Okay, well then,
just saying, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, okay, don't quit your day job.
You know? No, but wait, I want to ask a question.
So you're going to have to referee this.
So I need a whistle.
You're talking. Here, I got something better.
It's the
you like that?
Yeah.
Now you're talking about that the younger generation is really you're saying that they're closer to, what did you say about them? The younger generation.
They're
awakened.
I think they're being born more awakened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people talk about the crystal children or the indigo children, whatever that means, right?
That's because you're not one of them.
Yeah, no doubt. But my question is, so what do you think if obviously we don't want this generation or any generation to fall between the cracks, right? We want to give them every opportunity, right, to shine, to find their purpose and to bring that purpose into the world, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think that purpose is as a collective generation?
Well, I think what we as adults, we've done a pretty crappy job of maintaining the earth. You know, I think the previous generations that have come before the generation that is here now, we've tried our best.
I don't think you fall into that category.
Well, you know, I have to claim the title of adult now, apparently. But I mean, sure, let's say
you're just being nice.
The generation.
It's not you.
The generations that created the world in which the youth are being born into now have not been great at being keepers of the earth, have not been great, you know, at creating spaces of, you know, there's been so much destruction, and we know that, you know, there's still a lot of war going on. There's so much pollution and destruction on the earth that is and has been going on for generations. And I think we are leaving the youth that are coming into this world with that legacy. And I think the ones that are being born with that purpose of cleaning up this stuff.
That's exactly, yeah.
I think that's really what the purpose of the next generation is. I think that's all of our purpose, to be honest with you. I think at the core, humanity and humankind, our true purpose in life is to be happy, is to live in joy, is to live in abundance, to live in peace and in harmony. But when we are not connected to who we truly are, there's an emptiness that comes and festers inside, with which we fill with material things, we fill with destructive relationships, we fill with substances that are not healthy for us, because we feel this gap inside, and that gap is caused because we are not connected to our true purpose, because we're not connected to a sense of fulfillment that comes with understanding and knowing who you are, and only through understanding and knowing who you are is the avenue to purpose, right? And how you get to that place of that deep love and appreciation and understanding of who you are, I think, is also through healing, right? And so that's some of the other work that I do alongside my educational work and artistic work. They're all kind of fused, like art, education, healing, and social justice. Those are kind of like the 4 pillars of everything that I do. And so I think what the young generation that is being born now is here to do is also to help heal us.
I would absolutely 100% agree. I do feel I've always felt that they have to clean up the mess that we have made, and it's actually, I wouldn't want to be born being the youth at this time, because I think they've got the raw deal. I really do, and I actually kudos to anybody who is, and to the work you're doing, because
thank you. I think
it's really
also
needed.
As adults, what we can do is to help steward them into those spaces where they can do that work in a deep way, encourage our young people to explore themselves, encourage our young people to find their true purpose, their true voice.
So let me ask you, as part of the new wave of, the future generation, do you see us moving to a world with no money?
I think we are moving towards a world where abundance is understood on a level that transcends money.
Yay! See, I told you.
It's funny, because I was just thinking what we need to do. We want to inspire these kids to clean up. Let's pay them. Right?
Yes, well, here's the thing. There's no point of being anti-money.
No, it's not
or
that.
Pro-money. Money is a means to an end. It's a currency that allows us to exchange energy in an efficient way. However, the problem comes when people place value on money as a thing in and of itself, and not as a means.
Yes.
We've become obsessed with power. And money has become synonymous with power, which is a huge fallacy.
And when you're finding your true purpose, when everybody is carrying out their true purpose, money takes on a lot less importance. It's not
as long as you have enough of it.
Everybody would, though.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah,
I can't
everybody
wait.
would.
Let me know when that happens. Okay? That'll be great.
I have a crazy theory, is that when you are fulfilled and when you are in alignment with your purpose, you get filled with a sense of abundance. There's a feeling of abundance, right? And which comes along with a higher frequency vibration.
And then what happens?
And then what happens is that those things become attracted to you. And so when you can place yourself in a space of feeling abundant and feeling happy and feeling fulfilled, more of those things will come to you.
Naturally. Because you attract it.
You attract it.
It's called law of
attraction.
attraction.
If I can add to that,
absolutely.
If I can add to that, son, I was going to say, Sandra, that then this goes along with your idea of if it doesn't work for everyone, then it can't work for anyone. What I'm getting at is that, because what I think is that fundamentally, because I look at it, I'm really looking at it seriously, and I think we need to redefine money. I think because money is an abstract concept, it has certain rules, man-made rules. And because of the rule set that defines what money is, that we have a system that's fundamentally unjust, right? Which is why a lot of people don't want to have anything to do with money. It's also why I think as a society, we often reward the wrong things.
I think, to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, I think what we need to redefine is the meaning of success. I think we need to redefine success, and
and part of that is rewarding what our new definition of success is with whatever kind of means of exchange that rewards that behavior.
I think, to her point, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think what you're saying is when we are carrying out our purpose, that's the reward. And then the abundance happens as a result of it.
As long as you have enough to eat and a roof over your head.
He doesn't get it, son. I think you need to do an adult class here.
No, I mean, you tried doing it without all those things, right?
Well, I think also what you're saying speaks to, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? As long as you have your basic needs met, beyond that is additional stuff.
It's true.
And Hugh, have you ever not had your basic needs met?
And I think part of success defining success is having your basic needs met. You can't feel successful in life if you don't have enough food to eat, if you don't have a safe place for shelter.
Yeah.
So absolutely money plays a part, because we live in an economy where money is the thing that helps you to pay your rent and buy your food and these exchanges to get your basic needs. So in that sense, yes, money is important, right? But at a certain point, the money is not enough.
Absolutely. In fact, they've done studies, and at a certain level in a corporate environment, more money does not help, right?
Yeah.
You need more out of your job than just the money. You need to have a sense of fulfillment, a sense of achieving your purpose, right?
And which comes back to this big lie that we've been fed. You know, our entire educational systems are structured around plugging young people to participate into the economic system. That was the entire purpose of why education was created, was to educate people enough so that they can get a job at a factory or in this place where you can earn money. You know,
so total disconnection in terms of who they are.
It's a disconnection from who they are, and it's also placing importance on, you know, the wrong piece.
Yes,
I think.
Yes,
it's like your role to fulfill the corporate agenda. You know, that's essentially what they were training.
I think our education system should be geared towards helping our young people find purpose, help them to find happiness, and financial literacy is a part of that.
Yeah.
You know, we should be teaching youth how to be financially literate. And why is it that we have like 4 years of mandatory, like up until you're 18 or 17 years old in high school, math is a mandatory subject. And yet most young people come out and have to learn financial literacy elsewhere.
Yeah, banking and invest, financial security, that should be a course, actually.
Yeah.
That should be a...
So there's so many holes, right? There's all these holes in our education system. And my approach to it is, you know, if we were to place more value on the principles around helping young people redefine success and find their true purpose in life and find fulfillment in who they are and appreciation and happiness in who they are, I think that should be the primary goal of education as opposed to where it is now. And I think if we can convince our educators, our teachers, our principals, and our parents towards that end, I think we could have a huge transformation in not just our education system, but out of that transformation in the way that we relate to one another, in the way that young people are able to create meaning in their lives.
Yes, yeah.
It will change our corporate structures. It will change our economic structures. It will change the level of disease that exists. You know, and
there goes our health bill plummeting.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing is, so much attention has been placed on the things that are actually helping us to.
So we need to get you in every single school.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. But of course, I don't have the capacity to do every school. But the dream is to bring this formula to more and more schools and to more and more educators, so that we can use what works to empower our young people in this way. And so,
and we have. Go ahead.
You go.
We have. I know that we have Asia. In May is
Asian Heritage Month.
Heritage Month, and so this is actually what you did a couple years ago too. That's how you first started, wasn't it?
That was kind of an introduction that I had into UTS, the school where I really created this structure, and that school is primarily a large Asian population in that school. But the work that I've done in all cultural contexts. Like I've done this unit in Kingston and Peterborough. I've done this unit in inner city schools, so it's transferable regardless of race.
Right.
But yeah, Asian Heritage Month is coming up in May, and
this would be perfect.
This would be perfect for a lot of our Asian students, I think, too, because I think there's a lot of stereotypes that, of course, come along with the Asian community that, you know, we are the model minority, that we are really good at math and really good at school, and we're very obedient and dismissive or docile, these sorts of things. And I think based on cultural realities of what exists within the family is this dynamic of young people feeling like they're pressured to perform and succeed is very prevalent in the Asian community, where a lot of young people feel like because of a lot of pressure to be the best and to only study certain fields. You're either going to be a doctor, lawyer, an accountant. You choose one. Engineer, right? Doctor, lawyer, engineer, or accountant.
Yes.
Those are your choices. Pick one and go. But you can do anything you want, right?
Yeah.
So
go where the money is.
Go where the money is, and
go where the magic is.
I think that's what we should change it to. But I think also. I feel the need to kind of address some of these stereotypes in the Asian community as well, because, speaking about education, what I understand, I'm not going to speak for all Asian cultures or countries because there's many, many, many of them. But speaking from a Korean context, I'm Korean, and back in the times of the kingdoms in Korea, education has always been a very important aspect of culture, in the sense that education was reserved for the aristocratic class. And education was a way for you to gain power in political spaces. And so if you needed to pass an exam and be super smart in order to gain positions of power in society. And so within the cultural context, also within Confucianism, there was this importance placed on education where you needed to be successful in school in order to be successful in life. And I know a lot of different cultures have a similar understanding as well, but it's embedded into the DNA of our culture. And so a lot of people think that it's a genetic thing, that Asian kids are very dedicated to school and that parents really push their kids to be really good at school. It's not a genetic thing. It's a cultural thing, and it's very deeply rooted in our understanding of society and what it takes to become a good citizen of the world. Starts first with your performance in school. Wow. So I kind of just wanted to put that out there.
But that's a good thing. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons now for the success of those Asian cultures now, China, Korea, Japan, in a sense, achieving a level of economic and perhaps even cultural success that we're starting to see kind of fall by the wayside here in Canada.
Yes, that is a part of it.
Yeah.
And I think there's also an aspect of this idea of the model minority myth that's been painted in North American culture, where within the larger race dynamics of our past, anti-Black racism is a really real thing, right? And when you get put on this spectrum where there has been this oppression of Black people for hundreds of years, the powers that be further used these various different tactics to further push the Black population down. So what I'm talking about, the model minority myth is something that was coined by Time magazine in 1966. They placed an article specifically talking about the Japanese population and saying, well, look at how well the Japanese are doing. They went through Japanese internment during World War II, and look how well they're doing now as opposed to these other people, and referring to the Black population, right? So they're comparing 500 years of chattel slavery to 10 years of internment. And so it was almost like, well, we'll give you a little bit of extra privilege.
Who, the Japanese population?
Yeah. So the Asian cultures have been given a lot of privilege. One, because we're lighter skinned, right? And two, because culturally, the work ethic of Confucianism and our cultural kind of, what I had just described about the education, we fit kind of well within to the Protestant work ethic kind of framework. And our families also weren't torn apart in the same way that they were in the Black community over hundreds of years. And so there was this division that was also created within communities of color to further promote the agenda of the people in power.
Okay, so that's a huge conversation, and that's what happens here on Liquid Lunch. Sometimes we get to know each other, and then we get into something, and we could talk all day about it. So maybe we would love to have you back, son.
Absolutely.
And we can have a big conference. Or maybe you should do a show. Regular show.
Oh, well,
do all these issues.
I would love to do a show.
So we'll talk about that afterwards.
Yeah, we'll talk about that after.
But anyways, it's been great to have you on today. And of course, if anybody in any of the education systems or anywhere else wants to get in touch with you to follow up on some of the things you were talking about today, what is the best way for them to do that?
Well, you can find me at therealsun.com. And my bookings is through bookings with an S, BOOKINGS, at therealsun.com. And I am booking right now for the month of May for presentations around Asian Heritage Month for schools and in universities.
And we're looking at high schools?
High schools and universities.
And universities.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
And that's all of Ontario, Toronto?
Worldwide, wherever this is going.
Okay.
And so I'll do like
boundaries.
musical keynotes, assemblies, or workshops. So
fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Great to see you
so
again.
Much. What a great education.
Yeah.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, we got more coming up.
She's really smart.
I know. Ooh, there you go. Let's. Okay, we're going to take a little break. We got more coming up here on Liquid Lunch, thatchannel.com.
It's that camera. That channel.